Hello and welcome. Oops, I didn't mean to put that on there. Anyways, hello and welcome everyone. If we haven't met yet, my name is Melissa Vanden Heuvel and my handsome hubby and business partner, Anthony Kerwin, is here with us too. He's just hanging out in the background. It's not easy to have us both on here, so if we need him, he's there for us if we need him. Anyways, I just want to give this a few more minutes just to see if anyone is going to jump on. And just to set this up here. Okay, great. It looks like we should be good to go. Okay, so both of us, Anthony and I, are really thrilled to have this opportunity to discuss with you what we feel is a really important topic. Hormone imbalance. Hormone imbalance is contributing to poor health, not only in women, but also in men, and not just in North America, but around the globe. And many people are becoming aware that allopathic medicine, when we go to our doctors, when we have a hormone imbalance, they're often giving us synthetic hormones to help us, to bring us back into balance. And we're realizing that a lot of those synthetic hormones are actually causing more problems. Hey Tiff, how you doing? Hey honey. Anyway, so finding natural solutions to balancing our hormones is very essential. It's essential for us to, find these natural ways to balance them so that we can achieve and maintain our optimal health. So if at any point during this presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments and I will do my best to respond as quickly as possible. And if I don't respond right away, hey, thanks, Tiff. And if I don't tell it right away or I don't get to your answer right away, I will definitely try to get to you at some point in time over the course of the presentation, if not afterwards. All right, so this is a picture here, because you can't see us, of my handsome hubby and me, just to let you know who we are, if you don't know who we are already. And this is a picture to show you of myself. This is going back into 2007. So we put this course or this class together to help others better understand the roles that hormones have on their health. And the reason why I did this is because my own health story came from a background of having unbalanced hormones. So it's really important for me to share my story and to help share the information that I've learned. Back in 2007, my once beautiful skin started breaking out, basically. And I don't really just mean with some small pimples. I actually started getting this really bad, painful cystic acne. As you can see here in this picture, I have quite a large and painful cyst that's up in my corner there of my forehead. But you can also see there's a lot of other inflammation spots on my face. I don't have a lot of pictures back from this time. It was a really painful period for me. And that's really what, in a way, was a blessing, because it led me to figuring out what was going on with my own health and being able to help others with their health as well. Back in 2007, when this happened, like most people, I did turn to my doctor for help. And when I went to him, he looked at me, and really without giving me much time to discuss what was going on or what I thought was going on, or without even offering to take any blood tests, I was handed a prescription for birth control. And having tried the pill before, I knew that my body wasn't going to respond well and that it wouldn't be the solution to my problem. So I left that doctor's office, and I left without a solution other than a prescription that I wasn't going to fill. And I set out on my own to figure out what was going on. So, it's been over 10 years. It's been a lot of time and money and school and also experiments that have really helped me to bring together the information that I'm going to be sharing here with you tonight. So it's really, hormones are a really deep topic. What I'm sharing here with you tonight is going to really kind of skim the surface and give you some idea. And there's going to be lots of practical tips on what you can do to help yourself naturally. Oh, we should go back here. I should state, just for professionality, I am not a doctor, neither is Anthony. All the information that we are providing in this class is for educational purposes only. If you do suspect that you have a hormone problem, imbalance, I do suggest that you seek a professional help either through the allopathic system or through the integrative system. Okay, so what are hormones? Hormones are special chemical messengers that the body creates inside the endocrine glands. We have many different hormones, and a lot of these hormones, they control most of our bodily functions. They control our digestion, our metabolism, our breathing, our sleep, our movement, our reproduction, stress, growth, and our moods. So when we understand what hormones, like the roles that hormones play in our body, we're actually better able to take control of our health. And while there's a lot more hormones than just these three, the estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, it would be far too in-depth and very overwhelming for you to learn about them all tonight. So we're just going to focus on those three for tonight's sake. And guys, I know this is really kind of more the female sex hormones. Sorry to be leaving you out on this one. We promise that we won't be doing that again, or not in the very near future anyway. So, okay, so let's look at estrogen first. So as I mentioned, once we better understand what hormones do, we can understand how they can help us out. So estrogen stimulates the growth of tissue, such as developing a breast as well as reproductive organs. And it also helps to ensure that they have healthy function. And in the brain, it boosts synthesis and function of the neurotransmitters that affect our sleep, our mood, our memory, libido, cognitive factors such as learning and attention span. So there's really a delicate dance when it comes to the balance of progesterone and estrogen, which are really at the forefront of the female hormones. And the ratio, while it varies, it is roughly somewhere between, I believe it's 1 to, anyways, I'm going to leave that out here because I don't have that written down right now, and I'm just, anyways, I'm going to leave that out. But estrogen is meant to be the predominant hormone. So it's in the first half of the cycle. That's when it's at its highest peak. So that's through days 1 through 14. And progesterone is highest in the second half, and so that's days 15 through 28. However, most women in our developed world, so in North America and most of the other developed worlds in like Europe, this is not the case. And when estrogen levels rise, there's the estrogen to progesterone ratio falls out of balance, and then we develop what is called estrogen dominance. So estrogen dominance really essentially is just a fancy term for saying that there's too much estrogen in our body and not enough progesterone present. So according to Christine Northrup, who is a menopause and women's health expert, the symptoms of estrogen dominance include decreased sex drive, irregular or otherwise abnormal menstrual periods, bloating, also known as water retention. You can have breast swelling and tenderness. You can have fibrocystic breast, headaches, especially that are occurring premenstrually. We can have mood swings, irritability, and depression are also included with that. Weight gain and or fat gain, so especially around the abdomen and the hips area. You could have cold hands and feet, which is also a symptom of low thyroid dysfunction. Hair loss, thyroid dysfunction in itself, a sluggish metabolism, foggy thinking, memory loss, fatigue, trouble sleeping, insomnia, and PMS. Those are all symptoms that are and signs that you have estrogen dominance. And what happens when we ignore these symptoms, or when we use products like, say, the birth control pill or something to mask or try to solve without getting to the root of the problem, or our hormonal problems, is that we actually can lead to further disease. And some of the health diseases that are associated with having estrogen dominance are hormonal cancers, autoimmune disease, candida overgrowth, as well as Hashimoto's and thyroiditis. So as you can see, when we ignore these symptoms or when we band-aid them, it can lead to a lot of different, pretty potentially scary health conditions. So if you're like me and you're inquisitive, you may be wondering what causes estrogen dominance. And the answer is, well, many, many, many things, as you can see here from this list. But the good news is that you can actually prevent estrogen dominance by preventing or by limiting or avoiding your exposure to these xenoestrogens. So xenoestrogens are chemicals that imitate estrogen. When our body is exposed to these fake estrogens, it takes them up into its estrogen receptors. So our body, just imagine that our body has these little magnetic booms that can pick up, estrogen. And what it does is we have these fake estrogens floating around in our system. It doesn't know that it's fake. It thinks it's actually a real healthy estrogen, and it will take it up into its receptor cells. And what happens then is that essentially these cells become blocked by these fake estrogens, and the natural estrogen, the healthy estrogen that your body actually needs, is unable to be utilized because your receptor cells are full of fake estrogen. So when this happens, we end up with what we call estrogen dominance, which we're just looking at here. So another thing about these xenoestrogens that's pretty crappy is that they actually get stored in our felt cells. So getting rid of these fake estrogens once they're already in our body can be quite a tricky thing, and it can be quite complicated. So it's best if we try to avoid them in the first place. So here's a list of ways that we are exposed to these fake estrogens or these xenoestrogens, and what we can do to help them, to help avoid them. So a diet that is high in processed packaged foods as well as fast foods. It contains a lot of hormones. It contains a lot of xenoestrogens, so we want to be avoiding that. As well as a diet that's commercially raised meat and dairy and conventionally grown produce. Again, this is because of the pesticides, as well as especially in the United States, a lot of our factory farmed and conventionally raised animals are fed hormones, as well as antibiotics, which both mess with our hormones. But they're fed the hormones in order to grow faster and to be healthier. And this in turn affects us on a cellular level as well. So we want to be, choosing organic or free range from, pasture raised as much as possible. Another source is water, beverage, and food containers. So this can be plastic or glass. Aluminum cans are often lined with BPA, and that is a hormone disrupting chemical, as well as plastic contains phthalates, and it can also contain BPA. So again, these are hormone disrupting chemicals that do get trapped inside our cells and continuously affect our body even after we've, long drank. It's not like something that you drink and your body just releases. It's something that your body holds on to. Personal care products and household cleaners are other sources of xenoestrogens, as well as if we have gut dysfunction, that can be another source because estrogens get trapped and continue to be circulated in our system. As I mentioned, BPA and phthalates, those are also hormone disrupting chemicals. So again, it's the plastics. BPA can also be found on cash register receipts. It can be found in white dental fillings, lots of plastics, can liners, so lots of different ways there. And phthalates are found in plastics as well as anything that is fragrant. So anytime you're using any kind of product with synthetic fragrance, there's going to be phthalates in there. Heavy metals are also as well an issue. Those can be sourced out through any sort of, if you've had any broken limbs where you've had pins or rods in place, those are going to be potentially contributing to some heavy metals, as well as dental amalgam fillings. Any sort of implants, breast implants contribute to heavy metals as well. So there's a few different ways that you could be sourcing out heavy metals. So if you're trying to avoid that in the future, I would ask your dental hygienist if they can avoid using mercury fillings, and maybe get yourself checked to see where you're at with that. And chronic stress can also lead to hormone imbalance as well. And on the flip side, it is also possible for us to be estrogen deficient. So even with all of our exposure that we have to these fake estrogens, unlike estrogen dominance, estrogen deficiency can be caused by factors that aren't as easily controlled. So it's not as easy for us just to avoid these. So estrogen levels can drop due to conditions that affect the damage or changes to the ovaries. Although the most significant risk factor for having low estrogen is age. As women age and approach menopause, our estrogen levels naturally decrease. And in fact, estrogen levels start to decrease throughout our earlier, like through our perimenopausal years. So apart from the natural part of aging, estrogen levels can decline for several other factors. As I mentioned, failing ovaries can be an issue, congenital conditions such as Turner syndrome, thyroid disorders, excessive exercise can contribute to it, being excessively underweight, having chemotherapy is another one. Low functioning pituitary gland, having a history of hormonal problems can also increase a woman's risk of developing low estrogens as well. So some of the signs, some of the symptoms that one might experience when their estrogen levels are low would be hot flashes or warm flushes, weight gain, insomnia. You know, because we start to decrease in estrogen as we age, we tend to get more wrinkles. So if you're seeing wrinkles prematurely, it could be a sign of estrogen, low estrogen. Vaginal dryness or painful intercourse, decreased libido, mood swings, depression, headaches, foggy thinking, memory relapses, weak bones, low energy, fatigue, and increased urinary tract infections. So as I go through this list, I'm pretty sure that a lot of us perimenopausal women can probably relate to that. And if you can, you know, give me a like or throw your hands up. That'd be awesome. All right, so next we're going to be looking at progesterone. So if you recall, there's a delicate balance that needs to happen with getting the right ratio of estrogen to progesterone. So progesterone is incredibly important to the female body because it counteracts the effects of estrogen. And progesterone belongs into a group of steroid hormones called progesterones. Of course you would know that. And it's mainly secreted by the corpus luteum in the ovaries, and it's during the second half of the menstrual cycle, as I said earlier. So it plays an important role in the menstrual cycle and maintaining the early stages of pregnancy, as well as in the development and function of breast and female reproductive tract. So in the brain, progesterone binds to receptor cells to exert a calming, sedative effect, and it can help improve sleep, and studies have shown that can even help protect against seizures. Some of the common signs of progesterone deficiency include brown spotting either before or after your period, regular cycles or a shortened luteal phase, and that's the second half of the phase, PMS symptoms, acne and bloating, low libido, fibroids, mood changes, anxiety and depressions, headaches, migraines, breast tenderness, pain, breast lumps or cysts, sleep disturbances, and infertility can all be signs of progesterone deficiency. Just like we can have too little estrogen, we can also have too much, and just like we can have too much progesterone, we can also have, or too little progesterone, we can also have too much progesterone as well. So some of the signs and symptoms of that would be drowsiness, discomfort and pain in the legs, decreased libido, mild depression, not feeling like yourself, or dizziness and spinning sensation. So the good news is according to You and Your Hormones, which is an educational resource from the Society of Endocrinology, they say that there is no known serious medical consequences of having too much progesterone. But with that being said, it's still about trying to maintain a delicate balance between your estrogen and progesterone, and having that understanding that what would potentially be throwing your hormones off balance is essential for your healing. And when it comes to progesterone and healing, we know that oftentimes the causes of excess progesterone would be more from like a cream, like a yam cream or a progesterone cream. So that would be more likely where that would come from. So it's also important to know, or to keep in mind, that it's okay to have lower levels of progesterone when you're in the menopausal stage of your life, rather than when you're in the earlier, when you're menstruating. And now it's time to move on to testosterone. So in women, testosterone is manufactured in the ovaries as well as the adrenal glands, and it enhances our libido as well as our sexual response. It strengthens our ligaments, it helps to build muscle and bone, it assists with brain function, and it's associated with assertive behavior and a sense of well-being. And because the ovaries are a major producer of testosterone, the decrease in hormones produced by the ovaries associated with menopause means that some of the pre- and post-menopausal women may experience low testosterone. And some of the signs that you would be experiencing if you were deficient in testosterone would be low libido, vaginal dryness, foggy thinking, fatigue, aches, memory lapses, incontinence, depression, sleep problems, and you may even enjoy shopping. And again, just like with the others, testosterone levels can also be in excess. And while testosterone typically declines with age, both in men and women, it can sometimes go in the opposite direction, and rather than drop, it can actually climb. And excess testosterone can be a really unwanted effect and a very troubling symptom for us women. And that's mainly because it causes excess facial hair and body hair, something that us women really don't want. It also, oh, hi, Jean. Oh. It also can cause menstrual irregularities or the absence of periods. It can increase acne and oily skin, and it can also deepen our voice and cause balding, which, as we know as women, that is, you know, those are some of our biggest nightmares that, that we don't want to face. So with, again, possible causes, some of the common causes of having high testosterone levels in women are hirsutism, which is excess growth of body hair and facial hair, PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. Hi, Lori, good to see you. It can also be congenital adrenal hyperplasia. So those are some of the symptoms or some of the causes, potential causes of low or high testosterone, where some of the possible causes of low testosterone include adrenal insufficiency, and this is where the adrenal glands don't work as well as they should. Also, when we have surgical removal of the ovaries, that can also affect our balance of, or our production of testosterone. And hypopituitarism also is another effect, as well as taking oral estrogen therapy as well. Those can all, and then also too going into early menopause, those can all have an effect on our testosterone levels. So I hope I haven't confused you up to now. You may have noticed that many of these symptoms that show us a hormone imbalance, they actually overlap each other. And that's why it's pretty tricky to pinpoint exactly what's going on with your hormones if you don't test to see where you're at. So in Canada, if you're lucky enough to live in Canada, you could go to your primary care physician and ask them to run these tests for you. In Canada, they are free. And if you have visible symptoms, there's a really good chance that your doctor will comply and order some hormone testing, some sort of hormone testing for you. But there's a good chance that they won't probably order all the tests that you need. And from my own personal experience, what I've witnessed is that they'll only run a few tests, and you're really left kind of looking at half of the picture. You don't really get to see what's going on, and there's a lot of flaws within their tests. So, not saying don't do that. It's a great way, especially when you're strapped for money, and you can you know, get some results when working with your doctor, especially if you have a really fabulous doctor who's willing to listen to you and to work with you. But that's not always the case for everybody. You know, that wasn't the case for me. It's not a case for a lot of people that I've been associated with and I've heard from. So it's definitely something that you want to look at. Another option for you is to work with an integrative health professional, such as myself, or with some naturopath, or a functional diagnostic medicine practitioner. We're all able to order what we call functional laboratory tests, and I can do this luckily through my functional diagnostic practitioner program that I took through the medical director's program. And this really gives us access to a lot of tests. One of my favorite ones for figuring out what's going on with hormones is called the Dutch test. So not only does it look at your estrogen or progesterone or testosterone levels, it will also look at your free cortisol pattern. It looks at melatonin. It looks at your basic hormones. It looks at estrogen metabolites, androgen metabolites, and your neurotransmitter metabolites. And there's a few other things that it looks at, oxidative stress and organic acids, I do believe. So anyways, it's really a great test for getting more clarity. But if testing is out of reach for you, there's a lot of things that you can do that are natural solutions that can just help you to bring your hormones back into balance regardless of where you're at. Wow, so yeah, so Tiff's just saying here that her doc flat out refused every time she asked, and she said, haha. You know what, Tiff, that's my experience too. I'm still seeing an endocrinologist, and he still refuses to test my blood, even though I clearly have issues. So it's quite interesting that doctors are that way. So, you know, try your doctor, and if not, then you can either not do the testing and then just try and follow some of these practices that we're coming up here with. All right, so diet. Let's look at diet. So diet definitely has a huge effect on our hormones. When it comes to proper hormone production and what our body needs in order to make hormones, diet is essential. We need cholesterol-rich foods. This is something that back in the 80s we were, you know, told to avoid, you know, dairy and eggs and butter and meats and fish because they were so high in cholesterol, and that was raising our cholesterol. Well, studies have actually shown that dietary cholesterol does not significantly affect cholesterol levels in the blood or risk heart disease. And science is actually proving that there is no longer any reason to avoid whole foods that are naturally high in cholesterol. And that's because we need the cholesterol in order to make hormones. Cholesterol is converted in the body into the mother hormone, which is called pregnenolone, which then is converted into our other hormones, including progesterone, testosterone, estrogen, cortisol, DHEA, you know, androgen hormones. Basically, every hormone is created from pregnenolone, which is created from cholesterol-rich foods. So gone are the days of excluding eggs and dairy or other animal proteins for the sake of being healthy. We do, however, suggest that you choose organic, pasture-raised, grass-fed products whenever possible. Otherwise, you're risking the chance that any benefits that you have from eating these foods will be outweighed by the negative effects that go with conventionally raised animals. Oftentimes, conventionally raised animals are pumped full of hormones to expedite the growth of that animal. And there's also added, like in the States, there's RBGH hormone, which is pretty, it's banned in Canada, so that just goes to show you. And then there's also the chance that there's antibiotics in a lot of this meat. So it's really not doing anything for our gut, which, as we know, can also contribute to our health as well as for our hormones. Another thing that we can do when it comes to our diet is to ensure that we're getting enough B5 and B6. All of our steroid hormones, such as estrogen and progesterone, will be produced when there's ample B5 in our system. So B5 plays a role in the synthesis of fat and hormones and neurotransmitters in the brain, while B6 is necessary for balanced hormones and for preventing progesterone deficiency. So vitamin B6 also helps with PMS because of its positive effects on neurotransmitters that are responsible for pain management in the brain, as well as for its role in increasing blood flow and managing hormones. Because B6 is involved in hormone production in the brain, it is believed to be effective in treating mood disorders and certain brain disease that can develop as a result of deficiencies in the neurotransmitter function. So research is suggesting that patients taking B6 supplement can help to lift their mood, experience less pain, and to avoid having a lack of energy and concentration. Hey Sarah, welcome. So to ensure that you're getting enough B5 and B6, you can definitely supplement with these vitamins, and you could also make sure that you're including these foods in your diet on a regular basis. Dr. Axe is the one who you can see at the bottom of these sources here. I've provided some links. Dr. Axe is really great. He's got lots of great links. And if you actually go to these links here, you'll see which foods are actually, you know, the daily percentages of these foods. So say, for example, B6, turkey breast, just 3 ounces will contain 53% of your daily B6 intake. So that's pretty amazing for the vegans, vegetarians out there. A quarter cup of pistachio nuts is 38% of your daily protein value. So if you're absolutely refusing to eat meats, you can still get your B5 and B6 from vegetable sources. When it comes to B6 or B5, sorry, chicken liver, 3 ounces is 83% of your daily value. So if you're up for eating chicken liver, we can get our nutrients quite easily from some of these foods. And as I mentioned earlier, when we consume a diet that's high in processed packaged or fast foods, not only are we contributing to our weight gain and poor health, but we're also subjecting our body and our cells to hormone disrupting chemicals and toxins. So a diet that's high in white flour, refined carbohydrates, caffeine, and sugar, it also has a negative effect on our endocrine system and the hormones that are regulated by these organs. So again, going back to conventionally raised meat and dairy, we want to make sure, and produce, we want to make sure that we are eating as clean as possible. When it comes to pesticides, if you're not aware, there's the Dirty Dozen, so the environmental working group there, so ewg.org food news. You can shop from the list. It's a clean 15 and a Dirty Dozen plus list. It's a great way just to see which vegetables and fruits are heavily sprayed. And with those ones, we usually try to, whenever possible, buy organic. Sometimes it can be a little difficult and out of our price range. When that happens, from what I've been led to believe through some, it was actually through Ontario greenhouse growers, so I'm not sure if it would apply to Mexican greenhouses, but anything that's Ontario greenhouse grown, it does, they do claim to have more of an integrated pest management practice in their greenhouses, meaning that they will be less sprayed. So say, for example, in the summertime, if you can opt for a pepper that's a greenhouse grown as opposed to a regular conventionally outdoor field grown pepper, you're going to be saving yourself some pesticides, even if you can't afford the organic. So it's always doing what you can where you can. Again, I mentioned earlier, we want to avoid foods that are stored in plastic or glass. The easiest way to do this is when you're shopping, look for things that are stored in glass, and it's really great. Glass can be saved and repurposed. You can also switch your food over. Say, for example, if you're buying sour cream or yogurt or something that comes in plastic tubs where you can't really avoid it because they don't sell that stuff in glass. As soon as you get it home, switch it over and put it into a glass container, and that's going to help lessen your exposure to the endocrine disruptors, those fake estrogens, and that will be leaching into your food. Again, you can look for BPA-free. One word of caution with this, and it's something that I haven't really dove into that much yet, but BPA-free, BPA has been replaced with a chemical called BPS. I'm not sure the full scientific name of it, but from what I've been kind of seeing, it could potentially be more hormone disrupting and worse for our health than BPA itself. So as always, everything with a word of caution, and if you can, always go for glass. A good way to avoid that, say for example, when I'm in a pinch, I will definitely use at Eden Organics BPA-free beans, but to even avoid that whole potential BPS thing, you could buy dried beans and make your beans from scratch, make them from being dried fresh beans. Another way to do this is make your food from scratch. The less food that you buy in packages, the better. Yeah, so careful planning, like the way to do this is to meal plan. That's going to help you figure that to avoid your toxins as much as possible. Another way for you to reduce your exposure to hormone disrupting chemicals is to avoid using conventional cleaners that have toxic ingredients. But it's important to know that it's not just our toxic cleaners either. So hormone disrupting chemicals are lurking basically in every cupboard, most likely in your house. They're in the products that we wash our clothes with, they're in the products that we scent our air with, whether that's some sort of Febreze spray or candle of some kind. There's a lot of toxins and endocrine disruptors that come in that. The products that we use to basically clean everything from our teeth to our toilets has endocrine disrupting chemicals in that. Anytime you see the word fragrance, you're basically exposing yourself to these xenoestrogens, these fake estrogens. So we really want to make a switch over to naturally scented products. You'll even find oftentimes there's quite a lot of green or natural organic companies out there that claim that they're natural or organic. But if you look at the ingredients list, you'll clearly see that they're using synthetic fragrance. So that product, even though they have all those marketing claims on it saying that it's natural and organic and it's healthy, even if it's even though it's with the fact that it has fragrance in it, it still has hormone disrupting chemicals. So it's something to be avoided. So we highly recommend that you learn how to read a label and how to understand the label ingredients and what to look out for. So if you look on the screen there, we have a link on melaneth.com blog, on our blog, ingredients that we avoid for our health. If you look at that, you'll see there's a list of ingredients from A to Z, why we avoid them, what we avoid and why we avoid them, and kind of the mode of health that they have, or the reaction that they have on our health. All right, another one that is so hard for many of us to accept and to live with is alcohol and what it does to our hormones. Dr. Amy Saw, an integrated medical doctor, she suggests that alcohol consumption can increase estrogen levels and disrupt progesterone levels, causing a hormone imbalance. Another thing with drinking alcohol is that it also leads to leaky gut, and a leaky gut is basically, when we have leaky gut, it has a really hard time of escorting the aggressive estrogen metabolites out of the body, and that's when we end up with estrogen dominance. So we got a double whammy there. We're messing with our hormones, and then we're potentially leading to or contributing to leaky gut, which contributes to estrogen dominance. With that being said, though, we live in this world, and it's not always possible for us to completely avoid alcohol. So what I always say is, do what you can where you can, and moderation is always best. But again, we are all unique individuals, and if you're drinking wine, your body might be reacting. So it's really important to listen to your body and to see what your limits of your body are. And if you're not quite sure what they are, maybe this is time for you to, if you suspect that you have hormone, imbalances, that it might be time for you to talk with your healthcare practitioner to see if you can get some sort of baseline there, or to figure out what is going on with your hormones, so you can figure out what kind of role alcohol is playing on them. Sleep is another important factor. If we don't sleep, so we have a conundrum here, sorry. So basically, without restful sleep, we can't repair the body. Like, the body just doesn't heal if you're not getting restful sleep. But it's pretty hard to get restful sleep when our hormones are out of balance. So it's really best for us to train our body to sleep. It is something that we can do in order to be healthy, and this is what we should be trying to aim for. So ways to do this is to go to bed at a regular time and to wake up at the same time every day. So if you can, ideally it would be, to bed by 10 and say awake by 6 or 7 in the morning. Your bedroom too, you want to make sure that you're not having any televisions or electronics. If you can, leave the phone out of your room and the television out of your room. That's going to help you have a more restful sleep. Caffeine and alcohol, staying away from those is also going to help you as well. Not eating. This one's kind of a catch-22. Some people with blood sugar imbalances, I wouldn't give this advice to, but for the majority of people, not eating 3 hours before bed is going to help you to have a better sleep. Unless, of course, like I said, unless you have blood sugar imbalance issues that could be waking you up, then you may need to have a snack before bed. Exercising vigorously after dinner, not a good idea. It can actually just make it more difficult for you to get to sleep. And then there's also some herbal therapy that you can get into as well. And exercise, we can't forget exercise. So I mentioned earlier, I don't know if at least I meant to anyways, that strenuous exercise after dinner can actually be detrimental to you, and it can also be detrimental to your health at any point in time. If you're always, if you're in the habit of killing yourself at the gym, know that you're not doing yourself any favors, especially if you have any sort of adrenal fatigue or adrenal dysfunction going on. You could just be, creating more issues for your adrenals and for your hormone balance. So it's ideal to keep your workout short and sweet. Do give it your all, and if you can, do interval. There's a lot of studies that are showing out, coming out now, that are showing that interval training is a really great exercise for you. Lifting weights, this is going to help us keep our bones, bone density as well. Yoga, of course, I'm going to talk about yoga and meditation and pranayama. They're amazing for you, as well as any other ancient practices such as Tai Chi or Qigong. Anything that basically you're taking your mind out of your body and connecting with your breath and with your body and letting go of the mind, that is ideal. And yeah, so basically working out several times per week, different muscle groups, and yeah, so that's just, I think I covered that all. I'm pretty sure I got it all. So yeah, so that should be essential. Working out exercise is essential for your for a hormone imbalance, and it's really about daily movement. So walking is also really good for you as well. So while I was putting this together, I came across something, and I just decided to throw it in here to see if anyone else has heard about it. And it's called seed cycling. And the International Herbal Academy explains that seed cycling integrates different seeds into the diet at different times in the menstrual cycle to support optimal hormonal balance. The idea is that the seeds contain certain oils, vitamins, and nutrients that can help support the body's production and release and metabolism of hormones. The seeds is used in rotation are flax and pumpkin seeds and sesame and sunflower seeds. It is claimed that the ligands in the sesame seeds and the flax bind to excess estrogen so that the body can release it. And also seeds the seeds are also high in omega-3s and vitamins that help to balance hormones. The seed doses are based on the phases of the menstrual cycle. So the follicular phase is from day 1 to 14. And that's when you should be taking 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed and 1 tablespoon of pumpkin seed per day. And then on day 15 through 28, you're going to be doing 1 tablespoon of sunflower seeds and 1 tablespoon of sesame seeds per day. So I don't know if that works. I don't know, would you try it? I'm thinking about trying it, so if there's anyone out there listening and they've tried it, let me know what you think. And if you want to try it with me, let me know what you think too, and maybe we'll do it together. It's just something that's pretty cool. All right, so celebration time. We have made it to the end of this class, and before we say our goodbyes, I just want to take a moment just to recap and digest what we've gone over, because it was a lot to take in. This was a really big class. So there are several factors that are involved in causing hormone imbalance. Some of the main culprits include stress, which we really didn't get into, pain and hidden inflammation as well, dietary stress, which we covered in quite detail, synthetic hormones in our food as well as in our products that we're using. We covered in great detail as well as the toxic environments. We can learn how to support our body just by avoiding chemical toxins, including fragrance products. We can eat a diet that includes quality fats, including vitamins B5 and B6. We can make sure that we're getting adequate sleep, and we can also be sure that we're moving our body every day in a healthy way. And one last piece of advice before we part is don't forget to be checking in with yourself. So take account of how far you've come, and you celebrate your success along this journey to health. When you're embarking on journeys like this, or maybe you've already been on one, we know that there's going to be some struggles along the way. The path really isn't as smooth and paved as we'd like it to be. So there will be struggles, but know that it is so worth it, that it's going to be the moods change, everything changes, so it is definitely so worth it. So the biggest thing is just make sure that you're having fun along the way, and acknowledge your hard work, and acknowledge that you're doing something special for yourself. Because that's really big. It's a big step to do that. So thank you so much for attending our class. It really means a lot to be able to share this information with you, you and those others, people who are ready to make changes to their health and to their life. It's important that we take time to implement some of these things that we discussed, and remember that baby steps is all that's needed. It's just one step is so much better than taking no steps. So please reach out if you have any questions or concerns. And as a reminder, we do offer complimentary health strategy sessions. All you need to do is apply. You can find that link on our website. It's at the top in the banner there, and we'd be happy to connect with you and happy to help you. So we hope that you enjoyed this class and that it met or exceeded your expectations. And we hope that you can find your way on the path to balanced hormones. So have an awesome evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me. Love you guys. Bye.